Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome wherever you are joining us from in the world. We are so happy to have you here at USA Global TV and Radio. Our show today is the United Kingdom News and Culture. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the President, Founder, and Chief Listening Officer here at our network. We have one of our expert correspondents with us today, and the other three have the day off for various reasons. So we're going to be discussing culture in London. Joining me for this exciting conversation is the star of our show, DIANN FLOYD. DIANN is no stranger to travel. She has traveled many places and lived in various places around the world. She has an incredible amount of expertise in this area. She's also the queen of networking. So if you are looking to connect with somebody, reach out to her. And she also is an incredible award-winning author of children's books and young adults. Let's welcome her and find out what is going on. Welcome.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn. It's one of my favorite shows.
I know, it's a lot of fun. And today it's just the two of us, and that's okay because we will just have a chat that will take us wherever it normally goes. So we've decided, folks, for those of you joining in, we're going to be staying away from some of these hot topics that are being discussed about certain people from the UK. And we're going to take it to a different direction and talk about the culture, especially in London. So DIANN, you've traveled so much. Tell us, how many times have you been to London or the UK?
Enough times that I can't count on my fingers. So I've been very blessed.
That's a lot.
I love the UK. I mean, I still need to take in Northern Ireland and Scotland, but I'm very proud to say that my maiden name is Floyd, and in Welsh it's LLOYD, Lloyd. So I once got to actually go to the town where my ancestors were in Berkshire, Wales.
Wow.
That's on my daddy's side. The other Harrises are totally British, and the Terrells are British and Scottish. So, and the Patricks are Irish. So there you go. I got it all.
That's really exciting. And when you share that you have been there so many times you can't even count it, that really puts you as an expert. So when you're traveling, do you try to incorporate going places that maybe tourists don't typically go, or do you go with the flow?
When we first traveled to England, that was with my husband and we went to where the tourists would go. And then another time, my daughter Rachel, for her 16th birthday, all the kids got to pick somewhere they wanted to go special for their 16th. And she picked England, but she had to map everything out. And that was before there was such a thing as internet. And but now it's all about going to places that people don't normally go, or just enjoying some of the beauty of just the natural parks and things like that, because there's so much beauty, right?
Absolutely. Would you describe, from your experience, London as a walkable city?
I'm no expert there, but depending, you would have to hop a bus sometimes and then, walk around that particular area that you were going to. But yes, it certainly can be. But, you wouldn't walk for miles. You hop on one of those iconic double buses, right?
I'm laughing because when I traveled several times, this happened, I decided I was going to be walking everywhere. And this was actually in Paris. And, there's so much to see there and do, but your feet are not cooperating because I wasn't wearing sneakers.
Oh
So
no.
I was wearing like really, very nice sandals. You can't walk for miles in sandals. It doesn't even make
No.
any sense. And then you're not even enjoying what you're doing. So I think
Right.
that's really important. We just talked about that on the last show about being dressed appropriately for whatever it is you're going to be doing.
Absolutely. And so I carry a big bag. And so I have my sneakers to change into. And then if I'm going into a restaurant that needs to be more appropriately dressed, then I switch out my shoes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
But I
sense.
do that in New York as well. So, because
Yeah.
in New York City, you can walk a lot of places, but I want my sneakers on, and then I just switch out my shoes.
Talking about shoes, I laugh, and I'm actually going to spotlight you in a minute and get you the shoes that I wear all the time now. But I always wore heels, and even if I was going to New York, wherever I was, and it was on the sidewalk, I would say to myself, okay, you can do this. You have to walk 4 blocks. Just get it together. But you'd have a heavy suitcase, briefcase, and a purse. And by the time you get there, you're dripping with sweat. Your heel gets stuck in the cracks. It
Crevices.
doesn't even make any sense. So when I see it now, I'm like, yeah, I've been there, and I'm not going back there. Even in airports. Airports, people are wearing heels. It's not comfortable.
No, I don't know how they do it. And again, that's another place where I'll, change out my shoes. So, because
Yeah,
I just hate, I mean, I tried the whole untying my tennis shoes or something, but you're holding people up, and I just want to get my slippers off, have them say, okay, she's good to go, and then get back on, and then put on a nice pair of shoes when it's time to
exactly. I call
take
them
off.
sitting shoes.
Sitting shoes. I love it.
So going back to London, let's talk about some of the memories that you've had from being there. I was only there once. I was there on a work trip, and we actually started out in the countryside. And why can I not remember where I was? But it was amazing because I was there by myself, and I got to travel in and look at a lot of beautiful scenery, eat fabulous meals, and then went to London, and I was there, and then we went to Monte Carlo. It was a great trip. So my memories are probably a little bit different because it was work related. But what about you? What are some things that you did that you really just stand out in your life as good memories?
Well, I'm so glad I, saw the changing of the guards that everyone talks about, because it is phenomenal to watch. So I am always amazed at when you look at pictures and you think the palace and so forth, Buckingham Palace, that it's not going to be it's just going to be, it's not going to be surrounded by all these buildings, but everything's kind of grown up around it. But that's just breathtaking. It's worth getting there so that you're just right in front for the changing of the guards. Um, I would love to be there sometime when they have when there's a big parade to watch the carriages and everything come out, because that just has to be something that the British are so proud of. There's so much beautiful ceremonial things that they have there. I loved going to the plays. For me, musicals, I just love musicals, and the West End is phenomenal. And I've never not had a good show. So sometimes when we go, it'll be just all about seeing the plays. So we'll stay on that side of town. And then there's the host shopping in Oxford Square and all of that. So that's special. But you can plan your trips well enough that you can take the bus or a train and get out to the countryside and see the different castles. And the history is so phenomenal. And you before you know it, you're inside King Henry's castle. How cool is that, Dr. Jacalyn?
It's so cool. There's so many fabulous things to
Yeah.
see. And you also brought up that buzzword shopping. Ooh, I know when I would travel, I'd be like, I have to get something. Like everywhere I went, I'd have to get the bag, the shoes,
Right.
something or other.
Right.
And Yeah, it's just funny how it doesn't have any meaning now.
Well, I think the sad, I guess it's, good and bad, but what I loved about being in different places is the stores would be so different, but now corporations are just everywhere. So before, if you went to Zara's, you were like, oh my gosh, you went to Zara's from London, right? And now,
Yes.
you have Zara everywhere you turn around. And I guess that's good for people wanting to make money and so forth, but it takes away the beauty of saying, I bought this at Zara's. It's kind of like Macy's was this, wow, you went
Yes.
to Macy's in New York, right? Which is still totally awesome to see Macy's in New York. But if you say, oh, you've been to Macy's because there's little stamp Macy's around the country, it kind of, takes away all of that.
Yeah, I
So,
agree with you. There's a Macy's in Philadelphia that used to be John Wanamaker's. You ever hear of the John Wanamaker store?
no.
Well, the thing that was so cool about it is that there's one wall that is a light show at Christmas, and there's an organ, and you can imagine how big the wall is, but people would come from everywhere during the holidays for them to light this up and play the music. And I wonder if it's still
Wow.
there. I don't even know.
Wow. That
But
sounds really cool.
yeah, but to your point, and I love Macy's, but Macy's is everywhere. So
Hmm.
it's not
Hmm.
the same thing like, oh, I can't wait to go to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
No, I can just go to wherever.
So I hope they keep Harrods. Anyone listening? I love Harrods to go visit it, so don't put it everywhere. Though Simon did say they put little small ones in the airport, which I was pretty surprised. So
Yeah, I don't know about that airport shopping, but
yeah.
anyway, when you've flown into the United Kingdom, what was your experience like?
Oh, it depends on which time. One time I had a harrowing experience. We left New York, and all of a sudden we had to turn back around, and they had to fix the airplane. And then we took off again, and we were supposed to have a new airplane, but it turned out to be the same one. And we're halfway over the ocean, and they say that we have to make an emergency landing. And you're like, oh my gosh, So I thought we were actually going to end up having to take one of those floaties from the sky and end up in the ocean. And that was very, very scary. And Heathrow Airport was so amazing the way they handled that plane and took care of us. And I remember uh, just wanting to get off, and I ended up walking behind a couple of stewardess, and they were speaking to the captain, and or maybe it was the co-pilot, one of them, and I overheard him say, "Well, actually, the plane, we had to go down in the thing and restart the thing," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that was." Oh, so that was a scary one. Other than that,
That's
all the
pretty,
other flights have been beautiful.
but that one really made an impression and stays with you.
Yeah, because we actually went to New York twice, and then it was the third time that we had to make an emergency landing. So that was very scary.
Not fun. Not
No, no,
fun.
no, no. Next time for sure. I didn't bring holy water that time. Make sure I have some with me.
Sounds like a great idea. Diane, when people come to New York, many people want to go to a Broadway show. And of course, Broadway's changed over the years.
Mhm, mhm.
Even the whole process of getting dressed up and going to a Broadway show. I remember, I think the last Broadway show I saw, wow, that was The Lion King. And my dad was alive. That's how long ago. It was 10 years ago. And we were all dressed up, and we went to Le Cirque, I think, afterwards, which I don't even think is there anymore. Long story short, people were dressed like they were going to a sporting event. It was just
I know.
shocking.
I
I'm
know.
wondering, what about on the West End? Have you had experience going there?
I think during the daytime, people dress more casual. But in the evening, it seems that people dressed for the theater. And I really appreciated that because I know it sounds silly, but it's just something elegant about when you go to the theater. And whether it's in New York, the theaters are gorgeous, as well as the theaters in the West End. There's so much elegancy, and when you're dressed the part, even if it's as the audience, which the audience is very important, to the actors, that it's very special. Yeah, I don't care for the slob look. Now, during the day, if I'm going to a show, I may not dress in my heels and everything, but I do at night.
Yeah, I think it's also respectful to the performers.
Oh,
And
that's
some
a good
people
way to
might
put it.
say, oh, well, they're going to get paid anyway. But it's about how you show up and then the
Mhm.
attitude that you have as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great point.
And I also look at it, to me, it's like a gift to be able to go to a show like that and have that experience. Because let's face it, there's only so many shows, there's only so many seats, and you're getting one of the seats. And then to be able to dress the part and act the part, I think is just emotional intelligence.
Oh, well said. Emotional intelligence. That
Thank
is
you.
so
Thank
true. I
you.
love
Thank you.
that. I love that. Um, yes. And, I think when you are dressed for the part, that you become part of the host show, and the energy that you're letting express the actors can feel it. And that's how we have a good show, because when we go backstage, it's like, man, the audience is so dead. Does anyone feel it? And they're like, God. And we'll be like, or you go back and they're like, man, the audience is really loving it. And so you even perform even more. And if you are in a great big scene, and there's a lot of us that might be in front, this in the very big front of the stage, and you can actually see how people are dressed, you kind of get sad, and then you get back into your character, but you're like, man, they didn't even dress up for us.
Kind of like it's not special anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
we didn't, just for people to know, I mean, I couldn't always go to the theater. I mean, I have 5 brothers, mom and daddy, couldn't take all of us at once. But I do remember the first time that I went to the theater and we all dressed up. Mama says, you have to dress up for the theater. And she's all decked out for her hot date with my dad, though I probably wouldn't have said it back then. And he's in his suit and tie and so forth. And then you go to dinner afterwards. And that is the same thing today. Is like you go to the theater and then everyone's all excited. And then pretty soon, you're watching people disperse and everyone's going in to have a drink or get something to eat. And you just want to keep looking good and feeling good and talk about how great the shows are, because the shows are incredible. So I've never
Yeah,
seen a bad show there.
absolutely. Well, let's talk about the dining also. British food, English food. How do you feel about it?
No offense, people, the very, very first time I went, people would always say, oh, British food. Yeah. And I was like, I don't understand, but I have always found it to be very good. And of course, now the food is just phenomenal in all the countries, but I truly enjoy it. But there's so much English in me that I'm going to enjoy it no matter what, because they love to have gravy and I love gravy. So anything with gravy is really good.
Well, so we eat French fries with gravy?
No, I won't do that.
I've heard that's pretty good.
Well, they use mayonnaise with their French fries, which I always found so bizarre.
Really? I don't eat
Yeah.
French fries anyway, but that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So, so they'll serve you some French fries, and you earlier in our other show, when Sherry says, try not look too American, and you sit there and, can I have some ketchup, please? It was like, yeah, American.
American, put it all over it. Yeah, there's lots of sugar in ketchup too.
Syrup and cornstarch, everything you shouldn't have.
All the bad
That's why it
things.
tastes so good.
What a surprise.
It's just red sugar. What are you talking about?
I don't get it. But
Yeah,
anyway, to
neither.
each his own. I know some
Yeah.
people who love ketchup. So
Yeah.
what about, we've talked before with our expert correspondents, and of course we have a whole show on Fridays about it, but afternoon tea.
Oh, isn't tea time just brilliant, as the British would
Yes.
say? We say awesome here, but they'll say it's so brilliant,
I
And
find myself using that word brilliant quite often.
yeah,
It's brilliant.
yeah, it's brilliant. It's a great adjective, isn't it? Right?
It is.
Now, if I could just do it with that gorgeous British accent, I'd be like really
Oh,
happy.
I
I
love the way they speak. We have so many team members who are from the UK, and every time they talk, I'm just like, oh, I just love it.
I
It's
know, it's
beautiful.
amazing. So beautiful. And, but anyway, tea time, awesome. Oops, there, I should say brilliant. Um, I, um, I just love all the different etiquette that goes with tea time, and I just love your show with Phil about proper etiquette, and I've even learned, some really great tips from him when you're having tea, and you had a guest once that talked about how to serve a proper tea, and I thought that was pretty cool too. So, and when I was living in Dubai, because there's such a huge British presence there, that there's tea time in all the major hotels, and I went to many of them, and you dressed up for them, by the way, Dr. Jacalyn. You always dressed up, and hats were well, you wore your hat, so that was one bad thing about going back to America. It's like, everybody's, please start wearing your hats. Just love hats.
I love hats too.
Yeah.
Diane, thanks for bringing that up about our guests. We actually had Jane
Yes, that's who it
Mallion
was.
on the show, and this is her book, Scone or Scone, and it's The Essential Guide to British Afternoon Tea. And there's a quiz in here, Diane. And are you okay if I ask you a couple questions?
I'm probably going to fail, but let's see how I do. And that's that book. That was the guest that was on. I meant to buy that book. Thanks for reminding me. I'm going to buy that after this show.
Okay. Are you ready for your first question?
I'm going to be so embarrassed, but okay.
It's okay. I didn't get the answers right. You've sat down at the table, but the waiting staff have not put your napkin/serviette on your lap. At what stage do you do so yourself? A, as soon as you sit down. B, after you have placed your order with the waiter or waitress. C, when you see the refreshments arriving.
Oh, that's a good one. If you're American, you sit down and do it right away. If the person, the waiter hasn't done that for you, which they should do when you are seated, then I would go ahead and do it. So it'd be C.
Okay, C.
What did she say?
Now, of course, I should know where the answers are, but I do not know. I do not know where the answers are.
Because I can't do anything without a napkin.
I will look for the answers. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay.
Okay. How do you place your napkin or serviette? Is it A, a triangle shape across your lap? B, opened out into the largest square shape across your lap? C, folded in half across your lap?
Gosh, hadn't thought of those in a long time. I'm just going to say what I always do, which is probably wrong, but I'm a messy eater, so I say I open it all the way.
All right, open it all the way. Where are the answers? Here we go. I found them. Okay. For the first question that I asked you, which is number 3, there is a bit of a clue in the question which referred to hotels where the staff will place your napkin on your lap for you because they do so as soon as you're seated. Right. Even if it may feel like you are being a bit forward, taking your napkin and putting it across your lap as soon as you sat down, it is nevertheless correct. As soon as you sit down.
Yep, as soon as you sit down. Yep.
Okay, and this question I asked you about how to place your napkin in a triangle shape, open out to the largest square shape, folded in half across your lap. The answer is your napkin is placed in half across your lap.
I knew they were going to say that because I couldn't remember them ever opening one up all the way, and I'm sitting there opening it. So
yeah. They're like, did you see the woman at table 45? That napkin's opened all the way.
She's definitely American, a messy eater.
Are you up for one more?
Sure.
Okay, you're a good sport. A 3-tiered cake stand, sometimes called a whatnot, has arrived with 3 plates on it, a layer of sandwiches, one of warm scones with pots of cream and jam, and a layer of small cakes. In which order do you enjoy these layers? I'm going to show you the picture.
I can already imagine them. Yeah. So interesting. I would say scones, sandwiches, and the cakes.
All right. Scones, sandwiches, and the cake. Let's see, which I'm getting very hungry. Let's see. Question number 5. Let's find the answer. Here it is. Always savory food first, including the sandwiches. Then you can go on to the warm scones while they still have some warmth before tackling the cakes. It's not the done thing to go back to one of the previous courses, by the way. So if you've moved from sandwiches to scones or cakes, you're not supposed to dip back into the sandwiches again. And I can hear you saying, try and stop me as I type.
Yeah. She's absolutely right. And the reason I said scone first, because I want to get it was extremely warm. So I know people say sandwiches, but anyway. Yeah, I'd rather fill up on a scone than a sandwich. A cucumber sandwich.
I like those little cucumber sandwiches. I don't know. I like them a lot.
They are good. They are, but
I'm a fan of the cucumber. So here's Jane's book. So go ahead and pick it up. It is available on her website. And this is Jane.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
She did a great job.
Yeah, she's a good guest. So Diane, that's our time for today. We've got another show.
So fast.
I know. We were thinking, what were we going to talk about? We have another show coming up right after this. So we're going to take about a 10-minute reprieve and just let people know how they can get in touch with you and tell us about your latest book.
Sure. You can reach me at DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com. Instagram's one way, and then my website. And sign up for my newsletter. I would love that. My latest book is A Song of Peace and Charlie and the Tire Swing. And if you're all about short stories, I have a short story and a Christmas anthology. And that's what it's called, Christmas Anthology. So you can go to Amazon, and all my books are just right there.
Fantastic. Thank you. And to all of our team members in the UK and to our loyal followers, we really appreciate you. And we love listening to you. We love just to hear you speak. So,
amen.
And to Helena Chard and Ian Pelham Turner and Simon McDonald, we miss you all and look forward to seeing you here again soon. All right, we're signing off. Please do stay with us. Our next show is coming up, and I've got a graphic for it here. It is the Lady Ella book launch party. So do join us. Diane will be there, and I will be there too. So just stay tuned wherever you are. We'll be back at the top of the hour. Thanks for now. Bye, everyone. Bye, Diane.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.